Good morning. I welcome you to the briefing of the Minister of Internal Affairs at the border crossing in Tiraspol. We also have Mr. Czesław Nozick, Deputy Minister of Internal Affairs, Mr. Marcin Kierwiński, Deputy Minister of the Ministry of Finance, Mr. Robert Bagan, Commander-in-Chief of the Border Guard, Mr. Marek Boron, Commander-in-Chief of the Police. Mr. Minister, please take the floor.
Ladies and gentlemen, as we said, today at 9 p.m., we closed the movement on the Polish-Belarusian border. This is due to the beginning, but in fact to the ongoing maneuvers of the West, maneuvers that are aimed directly at Poland, at the European Union, maneuvers during which war variants are exercised aggressively against our country. Realizing that this decision, probably for many of our entrepreneurs, is a very difficult decision. Nevertheless, we take it with full responsibility for the safety of our citizens, for the safety of Poles. As I said, this decision is related to the ongoing maneuvers, but I would not like to say it very, very clearly. This is not a decision that we make for the duration of these maneuvers. This is a decision that we make in connection with these maneuvers. This movement will be resumed, but only when we are sure that the safety of Poles is guaranteed, that we are not threatened by any provocations, any aggressive behavior. Of course, due to economic reasons, we will do everything to make this period of closure as short as possible. But the decision that I signed, the decision to close border crossings, this is a decision without giving a period, a decision to be revoked. We will analyze the situation on a regular basis and possibly make a decision to return this border movement. I would like to thank the officials of the Border Guard, the police, the Customs Service for carrying out this process efficiently. I am convinced that all matters concerning the safety of our borders will be guaranteed here. Before you ask questions, it may happen that for the next few minutes, I was warned by Minister Woboda, there will be checks that will begin before 24 o'clock. Nevertheless, border crossings on the border with Belarus will be closed from 24 o'clock. As we have all seen over the past few days, this decision is also caused by what we have predicted. Various aggressive behaviors towards Poland, which, unfortunately, were confirmed in the form of these incidents. Or maybe something more when it comes to the violation of Polish airspace. In any case, the decision is 100% related to Polish security and will be valid for as long as any threats to Polish security and the safety of our citizens are still active.
Ewa Pajura, TV Polsat News. Mr. Minister, I would like to ask whether entrepreneurs who will suffer any losses related to the closure of border crossings can count on some support. They say that a few days will not be a problem, but in the event of a longer blockade, they will simply expect a reward.
As Prime Minister Donald Tusk said at the last Council of Ministers, when he presented the decision that Polish-Belarusian border crossings would be closed, all resorts are to prepare a possible suspension of potential losses. And based on what these losses will be, based on how long the closure of the border will last, we will make a decision on possible support for individual industries. These are the decisions that lie ahead of us.
Anna Zabloka, Radio Tok FM. Mr. Minister, I would like to ask about the words of Russia, spoken by Mrs. Maria Jacharova, who claims that this decision is very bad and what would you say to her? What could Poland say to her?
We are doing this because of the safety of our citizens. In recent days, Russia has been acting aggressively towards Poland, and for many years it has been acting aggressively towards the entire civilized world. Taking care of the safety of our citizens, we are forced to make such a decision.
Next question, please. Good evening, Piotr Nowak, Polish press agency. I have a question about the last drone found in the Biłgoraj Powiat. What are the current findings about this find? Is it known whether it was a combat drone or not?
Mr. Editor, the prosecutor's office will provide all the detailed information on this subject because, as you know, every object that was shot down or fell on Polish territory is watched by police pyrotechnicians, by police specialists who are there. But in fact, the case is handed over to the police. I do not want to speculate here, although you know perfectly well that most of the drones that fell on Polish territory were unarmed drones.
Good evening, Michal Gdyński, Radio Z. 2 questions. First, assuming that these maneuvers will take place without incidents, will the borders be opened, for example, on September 17th? And the second question, are you expecting that this movement will be redirected to Lithuania due to the closure of this border? And therefore, you have to expect that, for example, there will be definitely more turns in Budziska, or there will also be more services from the Ministry of Internal Affairs.
Mr. Editor, because I am talking about the indefinite time of the decision that I signed, so I do not want to speculate whether it will be 17 to 18. The only indicator of withdrawing this decision, as I said, is information from all services regarding full security for Polish citizens. As for the issue of other border crossings, these matters are being monitored on a regular basis, and depending on the impact, relevant decisions are made. It is nothing extraordinary here. This procedure is always the same.
Mr. Minister, 2 questions regarding the strategy of the ministry. One is about the RCB alert and what message was conveyed by Mr. Spokesman. Is this a strategy that the ministry is obligated to follow so as not to be alarmed by sending messages about drones at night, as it was explained? A second question concerns the situation on our western border. The Border Defense Alert warns that border guards do not quite conscientiously control passing cars, but they do pay attention to it. Have there been any guidelines from you on how this control is to be carried out? And one more thing. Is it known whether the control on our western border will be extended, as the Germans did in the spring of next year?
I said that after September 15th, we will make this decision, and I will not change my mind here. After September 15, you will have an answer to this question. However, yes, it is very likely that these controls will be extended. As for the first question, I do not like it very much, Mr. Editor. Another manipulation in this regard, another manipulation in the words of Mr. Spokesman. Yes, the responsible authorities use all the tools they have to ensure the safety of their citizens. And this is how it was done on Tuesday. The operational command of the armed forces carried out actions to neutralize these objects. All procedures were carried out properly. There were no direct threats to the inhabitants of these areas. However, taking the words out of the speech of Mr. Spokesman, writing them in and calling them what you just did, I hope not on purpose, but calling it a strategy. Please forgive me, but this is disinformation and manipulation, and I do not suspect bad intentions here. So intentional, I would say, but this is such a rhetoric from which those who purposefully introduce interference in Poland are probably happy, completely unnecessary.
Cieszą się ci, którzy celowo wprowadzają w Polsce zamieszanie. Zupełnie niepotrzebnie.
The whole resort, I am talking about a resort that I have the honor to manage, was active from the first minutes of what was happening that night. Appropriate decisions were made by the chief commander of the border guard, the chief commander of the police, and the chief commander of the fire brigade. All garrisons on the eastern wall were put in a state of readiness. They cooperated with the army on a regular basis, which is also what General Klitsch is talking about. So, if you call the strategy that the MSWI services in this case showed full readiness, yes, such full readiness will always be in such situations. And there was one more question. Remind me, I will not refer to the words of the so-called border defense movement, because I have repeatedly said that most of them are people who disturb Polish services in a proper way to do their job, which is the best proof of the prosecutor's charges for the leader of this movement, Mr. Bąkiewicz. And because you represent a station that a few years ago was willing to shout at the wall for the Polish uniform, I would also encourage you to be more of a wall for the Polish uniform, and not for those who disturb our services in their current work. And now, one more thing, Mr. Editor, probably a fundamental issue, because it seems to me that we have talked about it many times, but somehow I do not see a goodwill for you to adopt it. The fight for the tightness of our borders, the fight for the security of our borders, is taking place here on the eastern border. And it is being carried out by officials of the border guard, the police, the army, all those who are involved in guarding the eastern border. Any attempt to build a story that the main problem is on the western border is once again such senseless, stupid, thoughtless disinformation. This is where the fight for the security of our borders is taking place. It's time for you to finally understand this. I turn to you and your editorial office.
To jest kolejny raz taka bezsensowna, głupia, bezmyślna dezinformacja. To tutaj odbywa się walka o bezpieczeństwo naszych granic. Czas, abyście wreszcie to zrozumieli. Zwracam się do pana i do pana redakcji.
We will ask for another question. Paweł Szot, Fakty TVN. Mr. Minister, what exactly do you consider the message for the reopening of the borders with Belarus? Mr. Editor, as I said, the opinion of the services involved in monitoring the situation, both during the maneuvers of the West and on the border, that this border is 100% safe. Obviously, this applies to the opinion of the services whose representatives you see here, but it is also known that other services that directly deal with the security of the state. I also have a question here. Filip Karman, Telewizja Polska. The question is whether you confirm that the Belarusians deliberately made it difficult to send cars here. That is, they sent cars too slowly. I don't know if it's specifically on the freight crossing. If so, how do you perceive such behavior?
No, he did not confirm this information. We talked about it with Mr. Commander Bagan. On the other hand, the last hours of operation of the Polish-Belarusian crossing went smoothly, without any bad intentions.
At least we did not record such incidents. I would also like to ask about the entrepreneurs who sent freight vehicles. Excuse me, what station are you representing? Ewa Pajoropolsa Dinios. We have signals that they did not have time to return to the border crossing. They did not have time to reach the border. They say there was little time. Is there any idea how to help them? In that case, they say they just don't have a way back.
They have to choose other border crossings, not Polish-Belarusian, to return. I just, Mr. Editor, will not agree. Please forgive me, I understand that you are quoting, but it sounds like a thesis. There was not much time. We informed about the closure of the border, about the decision that was made on Tuesday, so almost 2.5 days earlier. It was a significant time to organize all your activities in such a way to cross the border. However, I understand that each matter is very individual. Today this border is closed. Today these crossings are closed. For sure, for the next few days they will be closed. So such carriers must choose other alternative crossings and cross more borders when it comes to returning to Poland.
Mr. Minister Janusz Życzkowski of the Republic of Poland, once again about the RCD alert. Well, Mr. Editor, this is the fourth question. Mr. Editor, as I told you. But it is about specifically why these messages were sent after the drone raids were suspended.
I answered this question very precisely. All procedures were carried out as they should be carried out. In this matter, the Army took over the information, the operational command of the armed forces, and it informed about what was happening in our sky. However, the RCD alert already concerned the situation after the object was neutralized. All procedures in this area, i.e., the issue of notifying relevant institutions, were carried out as they should be carried out. And I will emphasize once again, I also observe what you show at your station, looking for a force in this affair. I want to make it very clear. All procedures, all at every stage of the state's functioning, were carried out as they should be. They ensured the safety of Poles and provided the right reaction. And I think that the best proof of this is the full consensus when it comes to the main political forces and at least close cooperation of both the presidential and the Polish government.
Okay, thank you very much. I see that there are no questions. Are there any more questions? One more. Okay. This is the last question. You also want to ask a question, right? Yes. The last two questions, please. Mr. Minister, if there is such a possibility, I would like to ask, because there are such assumptions that the border crossing in Małasiewicz, which is important for China, may become an element of pressure by China on Russia. In short, we will open the crossing if, in quotation marks, China disciplines Russia.
Mr. Editor, we have closed them for now, so I do not want to play such speculations at all. This decision, as Mr. Prime Minister Donald Tusk said, is an answer to the issue of Polish security, related to very specific aggressive maneuvers against Poland which are taking place, which are starting in Belarus. An additional issue, of course, showing these aggressive behaviors is what happened 2 days ago or 2 nights ago over the Polish border. And this decision is a strict decision, which should be assessed in the category of ensuring security. So I do not want to play any speculations at all, whether someone thinks that this is an element of political pressure. This is not the subject of this decision. It is not the subject of my activities as the Ministry of the Interior, nor the services that I have the honor of overseeing.
Sylwia Gdala, Katolickie Radio Podlasie. Do you consider opening partial borders for special categories of goods or transport? But what do you mean by special, Mrs. Gdala?
I will tell you right away. When transport is made by transit from Belarus, for example, to Kazakhstan. So, for example, such goods, which in the case of consumers in Kazakhstan, are intended for production lines.
No, for now we do not conduct this type of, in general, we do not consider this type of solution. We hope that the time to close the border, as I said, due to economic reasons, will be as short as possible. But it is 100% dependent on the issue of security of Polish borders and Polish citizens.
Thank you. Okay. Thank you very much for coming, especially at such a late hour. We wish you a good night.
Thank you very much.
Dziękujemy bardzo.